Good morning. I wish to welcome everyone to the meeting and officially declare the meeting open at 9 a.m. But I remind everybody that council's ordinary meetings are open to the public and are also recorded and available for viewing after the meeting to provide access to all community members. Attendees in the gallery may be recorded. I'd like to welcome Pastor Josh Symes from the Innisfail Baptist Church to conduct the opening prayers.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mayor, councillors, community, if I might take a moment to share a verse, a thought as well. I was thinking about what verse to share this morning, and I thought maybe I'd share something what we've been talking about in our church. We've been working our way through the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Thy will be done we looked at last Sunday. I thought, oh, no, but my mind was changed, and change is often a hard thing. Change is around us all the time. Councils, you're dealing with change and community change. Our community's culture changes. There's changes all around us. But a verse that kept coming back to me was Romans 12:1. Just the first part of it it just kept coming to me. It says, do not be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's the verse that kept coming to my mind. And I think sometimes we need to be changed and our changes, but according to Paul here, we need to allow the gospel that Christ died for us, sacrificed himself to transform and change our mind. But it was interesting when I actually pulled out and read the rest of the verse. When I looked at it, it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God. Which took me back to what I thought I might initially talk about, thy will be done. And so my prayer today is that as you talk and discuss, that you might discern what is God's will for our community. So let me pray for you. Father God, we come to you and honour and acknowledge that you are our maker, our creator, and we give thanks for your love and your mercies displayed to us in Christ Jesus. Father, we often exert our own will and not listen to you. And often when we go around your will, we cause harm and hurt to others. And so, Father God, I want to pray for our council today that you might speak to them and guide them and lead them, that the decisions that they make might be your will and might be best serve our community, your will for our community, and make those best decisions for us and for each other, that we might have a functioning, God-honouring community. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom, Josh.
Are there any apologies?
Thank you.
No? Thank you. Declaration of prescribed conflicts of interest or declarable conflicts of interest. I now invite those present to use this opportunity to make public any prescribed conflicts of interest or declarable conflicts of interest in respect of the items in the agenda. Councillors should use this opportunity to disclose and or comment on other councillors and or staff interests in accordance with the Act and regulation. Are there any conflicts? Councillor Pervin.
Yes, thanks, Chair. So I have declarable conflicts of interest in items 6.3 and 6.4. Reason being that the applicant that the land is actually being made over is on my register of interest, so I'll be leaving the room for this item. Also, confidential item 8.2. One of the tenderers, my partner, actually works for this company, so I'll be leaving the room for this item as well. I've notified the chair and also the CEO prior to this.
Thank you. Councillor McLeod.
I have a perceived conflict of interest regarding item 8.2, contract number CCW 000352, Grey Street and Ernest Street pathway renewal and raised priority crossing. The perceived conflict of interest is that my brother works for Innisfail Hardware, Cairns Hardware, and the proposed footpath works are located directly in front of that business and past that business. While I do not have a direct interest in the business or the building, I acknowledge that a reasonable person may perceive this connection could influence or be seen to influence my participation in this decision. However, I request that I be permitted to remain in the meeting and participate fully in the debate and vote on this item. And on that basis, that my relationship does not give rise to any direct benefit to me, and I can deal with this matter impartially in the public interest. And I ask my fellow councillors that I stay in the room.
Happy to stay, yeah.
So councillor McLeod's asking if she can stay in the room.
Happy to stay.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We go to item 1.1, minutes of the local government meeting. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by councillor Jessup, seconded by councillor Pervin. Is there any business arising? Councillor Pervin.
Yes, through the chair. So yeah, I've just got a item at the previous meeting. We had item 10.5, the shipping containers removals. Just wondering what has happened since this previous meeting.
The chair, I understand that officers have provided advice, and I'll have to take that on notice as to whether action has been taken on that site and what the time frame is, or the statutory time frame is left for that action to be undertaken. But as per the resolution, if that was to lapse, then council would use its powers through a contractor to come onto site and remove those. But I will have to defer that to the planning team.
Thank you.
Councillor Jessup, sorry, had a mind blank, sorry.
That's okay. I did ask a question to Mr. Goodman at the last meeting about the Yard Bridge and whether there was any further works to be made in that area. And I was just wondering if he took it on notice to give me an answer or an update as such. So if I could.
Through you, Chair, I can probably provide some advice on that. The Mayor and I went out and inspected Kew Yard Bridge and met with the property owners there. The bridge itself and council's road that's under our maintained road network were in a good condition. There were some significant works undertaken downstream of the Kew Yard Bridge on private land after Cyclone Yasi in 2011. We've been reviewing some of the aerial imagery available, which shows in 2011 that there was some rock revetment placed on private land to the downstream side of Kew Yard Bridge. By 2021, that aerial imagery shows a large island had formed in the middle of the creek downstream of Kew Yard Bridge. That island now has shifted and moved, and there, due to the levels in that creek at the moment, there is some vacant rock there. But the issues both upstream of the bridge and downstream of the bridge sit an interaction between private property and land not in our control, effectively the creek, which appears to be slightly meandering into that private property. So the Mayor and I will be meeting with the Cassowary Coast River Improvement Trust tomorrow, and we will be raising that issue with them. Typically, outcomes like that, if not able to be sourced through some sort of private grant funding, may be a partnership between the Cassowary Coast River Improvement Trust. That would require, obviously, contribution both from the benefiting property owner and potentially where there are funds available and it is deemed by the River Improvement Trust of significance, some contribution there as well. As we're aware, council contribute a precept of $130,000 a year to the Cassowary Coast River Improvement Trust to aid with work similar to this. But the council infrastructure at Kew Yard is certainly functioning as it was designed. But the issues upstream, it appears there's something going on in the creek further upstream where less significant rain events then have historically seen water go over that bridge, are seeing water go over that bridge. But there's probably a much broader study required to understand what's causing that. But certainly council infrastructure is functioning as it was designed.
Okay, so also mentioned in the same meeting last month, the Kroger Road Causeway. Is there any updates on the funding available? Anything come through yet for that, or?
Through the chair, council's contracted Shepherd Services to undertake the project management of our DRFA funding. It's more obvious with the Kroger Road Causeway that there was damage that was as a result of recent events. That application, I understand the application's been submitted, but we haven't received an outcome yet from QRA. QRA are obviously working through a number of funding applications at the moment, and we're seeing those approvals start to trickle through at the moment. So I would anticipate we'd have an outcome around the funding within the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Thank you.
I believe there was some deliberations about whether they fix or how far they actually go, whether they fix the actual section or whether the work will extend to the whole causeway. So Mr. Goodman's going to come and give me a slap over the knuckle or something.
Certainly not, Councillor.
Huh.
I think that the only other thing that I could add, no, that is absolutely the case, is that we are seeking approval to do a complete replacement of that infrastructure rather than a patch up on one end. But what I can also say is that QRA have taken on board our concerns about the impacts of the delays, and they asked us about a month ago if we could prioritise the submissions that they would like us to focus on. And the submission that includes Kroger Road was one of those ones that we prioritised. We have seen, so we gave them 3 priorities. We've seen 2 of those approvals finalised. So we, I guess I'm agreeing with that. I am agreeing with what the CEO's advice was, that we would expect that, based on everything else we're seeing, is that we would see a determination by QRA on that particular piece of infrastructure in the near future.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're very sorry. It is a very long drawn out process, but however, we have to go through all of those motions before we get to the final outcome, but hopefully the final outcome will be a good one.
Well, I'm thankful for the update. So waiting for the outcome, basically.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Thank you.
Okay,
Put that to the vote, the minutes.
We didn't
I
vote.
was going to say we haven't voted.
so we will vote on the minutes. And carried. Can I write down? Yeah, I did write down who moved. Sorry, I've lost my way. Okay, receipt of the minutes from the Traffic Advisory Committee held 4th of February 2026 and the Speed Advisory Committee held 4th February 2026. Looking for a move. Councillor Pervin going to move it. And Councillor Jessup, were you seconding that? Those in favour? Carried, thank you. Get back on track. Get back on your horse. Move on to 4.1. We've got Mr. Chugg to present. This is a DRFA projects, Tropical Cyclone Jasper, February 2025 and December floods 2025 status update. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors. Good morning, all.
Mr. Chugg?
So this report provides a status update across the disaster recovery program. Apologies for all the acronyms in this one, that we tried to spell it out in the report, and I'll go through them in full here for clarity. So severe weather events, including Tropical Cyclone Jasper in December 2023, the North and Far North Tropical Low in February 2025, and the North Queensland Monsoon Trough in December 2025 have caused widespread damage to essential infrastructure across the Cassowary Coast Regional Council region. Council was activated for disaster assistance under the Disaster Recovery Funding Arrangements, DRFA, for each event. The DRFA is a joint Commonwealth state cost sharing arrangement administered in Queensland by the Queensland Reconstruction Authority, the QRA, and CCRC has successfully secured substantial funding to restore damaged essential public assets. The estimated restoration program includes for Tropical Cyclone Jasper, 41 million. And significant progress has been achieved in delivering the restoration of essential public assets, REPA works. So for the roadworks, we'll see final completion in the coming weeks, and landslip remediation and betterment works will continue through 2026. For the north and far north tropical low in early 2025, the estimated value of works there is $23 million. Damage assessments are completed and the QRA review and approval of those submissions is ongoing. Approved works have already commenced. The majority of restoration activities are scheduled for throughout the 2026 dry season. The third ongoing event is the more recent North Queensland monsoon trough in December, and that's estimated, it's a preliminary estimate, but estimated to be $14 million of a value of works. So we remain at the moment in the counter disaster operations and emergency works phase, that first 3-month phase, and damage assessments are underway.
Can we just be quiet up the back there, thanks? Sorry, Josh.
No, thank you. So these events overall represent overlapping recovery programs with a combined estimated value of $80 million, and approximately half of the overall program of works have now been completed. On page 4 of the report, there is a chart that gives a nice simple visual picture of the program status across those 3 events. So we're showing there the scale of work that has been completed, the scale of work that is approved but not yet completed, and the estimated value of future approvals across those 3 events. Recommendations in this report are that Council 1 acknowledges the results achieved to date and the future projections contained in the report, and 2, thank the state and federal governments for the funding provided to these projects.
Thank you.
So just some questions for Mr. Chugg through the chair. Obviously, there are 2 landslips that affect my division, the Bingle Bay ends. So I've been asked if we could provide what is happening next. People are very grateful that the road is open, so I appreciate the work that the team have done to facilitate that. But what is happening now, and also the Kennedy landslip, where there's always questions about when is it going to be fixed, when are the toilets going to be opening. I can't account for people's behaviour, but apparently they are choosing to use the natural environment as a toilet, which is obviously not acceptable. So is there a timeline? Could you just give us any information on what is the next steps in both of those, if that's possible? Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair, starting with Kennedy Esplanade. So the contractor there, NAVIC, is well progressed with that work. Approximately a month to go in terms of finishing the works there at that site. In terms of toilet block reinstatement, there will be some ergon works, which can sometimes take a little bit of time in terms of reconnecting the power. The power line for the toilet block was damaged by trees falling in that landslip. So there will be some ergon works required to get power connected again to the toilet block. And at that point in time, we can check the functioning of the toilet block and get it reopened.
It'll be the same toilet block.
Same toilet block. Yeah, no plans at this stage to change that toilet block. For Alexander Drive, so there's actually 3 separate slips there. 2 from the early 2025 event. So we have approved funding for those 2 smaller slips and are working on the designs for remediation of those right now. And the 3rd slip is the big one we're very aware of from December. We've already, it's actually the first from that event, the first of the funding solutions that we got in prioritising that work. We have seen already some QRA response in terms of what is their value for money assessment, their initial and let's say main assessment of the submission. So that's looking really positive at this stage for the.
There's no timeline.
Timeline wise, we're working to complete that this calendar year, so prior to the next wet season. So we're underway with those initial investigations and the first stages of the design work to identify what is the concept design, what is the fix that we implement there. And that's happening in this case actually in parallel with the funding approvals so that we can get this fixed as quickly as possible.
I'd just also like to thank the team for working with a resident who has had many conversations about his private property and the effects of the landslip. So thank you to the team for working and great collaboration. I think everybody's the mayor is aware as well.
He's very thankful.
Yes, I think it's been a great
Support
outcome.
That's been given from,
Yes.
yeah.
And he was very willing to meet and to take, accept responsibility for some of the stuff. And it's been a great effort by everybody. So thank you to the team for making that happen. Thank you. That's all I have. Happy to move the recommendation.
Happy to second that, Chair.
And further than that, like some of those works, they're not just a quick fix in 5
No.
minutes. I mean, Cowley Creek, that wall that they've built there is exceptional, really. And, people just need to go and have a look at some of these things just to see how much work goes into it, but we're getting there. Yes, councillor Baines.
Thank you, Chair. This a question without notice, Mr. Chugg, so that there's a lot of, there's some rumours and some stories getting around about the outflow out at Flying Fish Point. So in the future, would it be possible to get a bit of an update about where we're progressing with that? I know it's very early in the process, so just so I can communicate with the residents, let them know, give them an idea of what's going on. So would that be a possibility in the future?
Yeah, through the chair, I can give a bit more info on that one today. So we actually were asked by the QRA, even since this December event, to put forward a betterment project. So we have put forward that Flying Fish Point drainage basin works as a betterment project. We haven't heard a response from that yet. I understand the QRA put that to the federal funding body there that's responsible, NEMA, and we're awaiting an outcome on that. So that is an immediate step that we've taken in response to that opportunity around betterment from the December event.
Excellent. Thank you.
That is excellent. That's
Great.
pretty quick moving on your behalf, and thank you for that.
Well done.
So we've got a mover and a seconder. Councillor Jessup, I'll put it to the vote. Thank you.
We're all a bit too loud today.
Move on to 5.1. Oh, no, I'm all good. Oh, I've lost today.
Thank you, Mr. Chugg.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we've got Miss Swift. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
Presenting our 25-26 financial performance report.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Morning.
I feel like I should walk back out and come back in again.
So, yes, financial performance report, January 2026. So the Chief Executive Officer is required by Section 204, Paragraph 2 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 to present the financial report at a meeting of the local government once every month. The purpose of this report is to promote sound financial management and accountability by presenting the Council's financial performance for the year to date versus our budget expectations, and this one's as at 31st of January 2026. Financial performance highlights include the following. Operational revenue year to date is 105.7 million with a favourable variance compared to budget of 807,000. Operational expenditure year to date is 74 million with an unfavourable variance compared to budget of 611,000. This results in an operational profit year to date of 31.6 million with a favourable variance compared to budget expectations of 96,000. Our total capital expenditure, which includes commitments, represents 63% spent of the $91.5 million budget, and the end of month cash balance is 54 million, which includes $25 million worth of fixed term investments. I'll read the recommendation now and then go through some details of the report to note. The recommendation is that Council receive and note the 2025-26 financial performance report for January 2026. For those points within the report to bring to your attention, Council adopted the 2025-26 budget on the 25th of June 2025 and approved amendments as per Budget Review 1 on the 27th of November 2025. So these are reflected as the budget in the following finance report and the attachments. Rates and fees and charges revenue are both over budgeted revenue as discussed in previous monthly financial reports with this council. Operating grants and contributions are under budget by 194,000, mostly due to the timing of works. Other revenue is greater than budget by 191,000 for the year, and sales and recoverable revenue is $397,000 under budget, with the variance primarily attributed to the timing of invoices for road maintenance performance contract, and milestone claims for Detsea coastal recovery works, which are yet to be issued. Employee expenses exceed the budget by 130,000, while contract labour is 100,000 under budget. Depreciation is over budget by 599,000, and this has been discussed at previous month as part of previous monthly reports. In terms of our capital grants revenue, there are a number of projects showing a variance year-to-date budget, mostly due to the timing of the construction of works. With $37.2 million of our total $91.5 million capital budget spent. And when including commitments, this increases to 57.5 million of the total 91.5 million capital budget, which represents 63% of the total budget, with 58% of the year elapsed. There is a full project listing of all of the capital projects contained as an attachment within this report. Areas of budget risk and opportunities that can impact the financial results are presented to Council within the Budget Review 2 2025-26 report, which will be presented to Council today as the next report.
Thank you. Any comments? Councillor Littlemore?
Thank you, Chair. Not so much a question, but a comment. It appears as though our employee expenses compared to the same period last year are far more under control. I know there is a slight overspend, but last year all we were talking about was how we're going to contain employee expenses. So applaud the staff for better success than last year, and look forward to maintaining that progress so that we keep a balanced budget as best we can.
Thank you.
Through the chair, if we can add to that, the contract labour is down offsetting that, and that's been a decision of council to take our apprentices and trainees in-house. So we were using an external provider and paying a premium for that, and that was being allocated to those that contract labour, and that's now being allocated to the salary and wages. And we will seek council's approval to make some amendments around that in the next item.
Chair, that's an even better outcome. And on that, I'd like to move the report, please.
Thank you.
Report recommendation, rather.
Councillor Baines?
Happy to second.
Happy to second. Any further comments?
Just
Take it to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
And back over to you again.
Thank you.
Ms. Swift, for the review.
Budget Review 2 2025-2026. So the purpose of this report is to present to Council the revised budget for 2025-26, inclusive of proposed adjustments identified during that second quarter budget review process. And that's covering the period 1st of October through to the 31st of December 2025. Section 170, paragraph 3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 provides an opportunity to amend Council's budget at any time during before the end of the financial year. And undertaking quarterly budget reviews promotes sound financial management and accountability through our detailed analysis of Council's actual performance versus budget and reporting on significant variations with then proposed adjustments for Council's consideration. Budget Review 2 has been completed to include amendments to both our operating and capital budgets, largely as a result of reconstruction of essential assets and disaster recovery funding arrangements related to Tropical Cyclone Jasper and subsequent funding events, plus some other amendments to both revenue and expenditure. Importantly, the proposed amendments result in the below changes. Operational deficit position remains unchanged compared to your adopted 2025-26 budget at 2.9 million. Operating revenue increases from 114.9 million to 116.3 million, which is an increase of 1.395 million. And our operating expenses increase from 117.8 million to 119.2 million, which is an increase of 1.395 million. Our capital budget decreases from 91.5 million to 87.7 million, which is a decrease of 3.8 million, which is inclusive of carryovers from prior years. I'll go through the recommendation and then go through the budget changes within the report. The recommendation is that Council adopt the following as tabled in the attached appendices to this report. 1, the amended statements for the 25-26 financial year, which include the Statement of Comprehensive Income, Statement of Financial Position, the Statement of Changes in Equity, and the Statement of Cash Flow. 2, the amended long-term financial forecast. 3, the amended measures of financial sustainability as described in the Financial Management Sustainability Guideline. And 4, the amended capital works program for the 25-26 financial year. I'll just highlight some matters in the report. As part of its standard practice, Council conducts a budget review at the conclusion of each quarter within the financial year. You can see within this report that the main driver for increases to our operational revenue and expenses relate to operating grants, an increase of $955,000 to our operating revenue, which are $205,000 for the regional flood model, $800,000 disaster recovery funding arrangements, emergent works, $133,000 related to the disaster recovery funding arrangements from Tropical Cyclone Jasper, and $23,000 carryover black spot funding. There is also a decrease in rates and utilities revenue of $400,000 and an increase of our fees and charges revenue for building, plumbing and drainage applications and inspections worth $300,000, driven by a higher volume of applications, and an additional $500,000 for waste transfer stations driven by disposal volumes exceeding projections. Increases to expenditure that are not related to operating grants of note are employee expenses for waste transfer station attendance for $330,000, which is offset by additional fees and charges revenue, and a reallocation of expenditure category from contract labour to employee expenses of $237,000 for apprentice mechanics and plumbers that the CEO mentioned earlier. Onto the capital budget. The total proposed budget review to capital budget is $87.7 million, representing a decrease of $3.8 million from the adopted budget review 1. The report details all of the major proposed amendments. However, I'll mention these that have an impact of $1 million or greater. Betterment, Hernan and Warrabullen Road removed from the budget due to a priority of works for $1 million. Disaster recovery funding arrangements approved submissions received for the January 2025 event and adjustments to completed projects for Tropical Cyclone Jasper, reconstruction of essential public assets of $1.2 million. Additional details are included within the attachment to this report, and also within the report, budget risks and opportunities are listed. Where these matters arise, they will be brought to you for consideration as part of the third budget review for 2025-26 annual meeting within May 2026. Thank you.
Just a comment more than anything, but because some of those items have been removed, it doesn't mean that we've removed them and they're not going to get done. That just means that they're just not going to be done at this particular time. Correct in saying that?
Through the chair, some of them may have commenced and be underway. It's just our forecasted cash flow for those projects doesn't see us expending all of those funds in this financial year. So those funds for those projects will be brought back out of reserve to fund the remainder of those projects into next financial year. But absolutely, it's around our cash flow.
Sorry, and the other thing I had was the $330K in the waste area. Was that to do with collection after those events, or?
Through the chair, we've seen a significant increase in our fees and charges at our waste transfer stations, and that's a reflection on, I guess, the increase in visitation that we have seen. So there is a factor there that is, offset by those fees and charges through increased visitation, but it's also foreshadowing a deed of variation that I am anticipating will be signed today with our waste contractor that will see us adjust the methodology and the methodology in the way that we get our general waste, so the red lid bins, from the trucks that do the collection up to Springmount and the facility up there. So we anticipate significant benefit and reduction in the contract amount with our waste contractor through that change. But there are some additional costs in actually bulking up that waste at our Stodders facility and then sending that up. So this will see less truck movements up and down the Palmerston, which is a good result for less emissions, less wear and tear on those vehicles, better consistency. But as I said, also there'll be a significant reduction in our contract costs for waste collection. That's a net reduction, even following some of the additional labour that's allocated.
So I know this is getting off track, but I'm going to say it anyway. A bit further to what you were just saying, people don't understand that if they take their red lidded bin waste to the transfer station, it doesn't get buried there. It goes in a bin and then has to be transported up to Mareeba. That's where the cost is, and that's why you get charged. Is that right?
Absolutely. The environmental authorities we have it, just for clarity, the landfill and the open landfill at Tully has been capped and closed, so nothing is going back into the ground in Tully. So if you're dropping waste in Cardwell, in Tully, Murray Upper, Bells Creek, even Mission Beach, that waste is all put into a larger bin and taken to our Stodders facility. But our Stodders facility is only licensed for what we would have called dry waste, not putrescible waste. So any waste that is of that general waste in your red lid bin, putrescible, is then bulked up and transported all the way up to Mareeba, to the Springmount site. So absolutely, we wouldn't like another putrescible facility within the wet tropics area and down here, but it is a significant impost and a significant cost that we bear that isn't as significant for those residents that live in Mareeba or the Tablelands.
Thank you. Sorry, I know that was getting off track, but I just needed to put that out there. Councillor Baines. Sorry, Councillor McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to, congratulate Ms Swift on her second report. So we've already gone through the first one. But these budget reviews, I think it's great to exhibit, and I'm going to reiterate your comments earlier, that it's about the agility, so we can work around timing issues, we can work around designs, we can work around grant funding. So and again, just because something on this list says it's not being done this year in this budget, doesn't mean they're not being done.
Yeah.
They will continue to move forward. So I'd like to, I'm very happy to move the recommendations, and again, ask Ms Swift to pass on to her team my thanks. I can speak for the councillors, I believe. I'm doing this work, some of this work quite dry. So it's very good to see it done. So congratulations.
And there is a very big exhaustive list there. If anybody's interested in looking at those 400 projects that are on the table, then go and have a look, because that is the work that is being done currently. So
Thank you.
Councillor McLeod.
Yeah, through the chair, just to reiterate what the mayor and councillor Baines said, just because it says there, this is removed from the budget, it's this budget because, you know, the timing, we've got 4 months left.
Okay.
So, you know,
Panic.
don't panic. We are still fighting for all of these things to be done. It's just not going to be getting done in these next 4 months. So I'd second the recommendation.
Any further comments? Otherwise, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much.
Just need to leave the room. Sure.
We move on to 5.3. No, it's Miss Lampard. He's
Lot of difference, Chair.
just slightly. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. Well, thank you. Morning.
Mr Anderson.
Morning, Councillor Baines.
Ready?
Mm. Yeah, over to you. Yeah.
Okay. Present to you today a report on the adoption of proposed amending local law number 3 and amending subordinate local law number 3, Community and Environment 2025. So these local law and subordinate local law was presented to council on the 25th of September last year at the local government meeting, where it was resolved to take them through to public consultation. Consultation was released on the 26th of September last year and it closed on the 24th of October. A total of 223 submissions were received for all of the local law amendments. However, this local law and subordinate local law drew some particular attention on two items. One of those items was in relation to placing your wheelie bin on the curbside 12 hours prior to collection. We received 25 submissions on that proposed amendment. All of those submissions were opposed to the proposed amendment. As a result of that, we have removed that proposed amendment from the local law, amendment local law. The next high profile issue was in relation to the replacement of the top strand of a barbed wire fence with wildlife friendly barbless wire. I'll throw over to subject matter expert, Michael Enns.
Thanks, Kirsty, and through the chair. So thanks very much for the opportunity to speak to this item. And the recommendation that we've tabled today seeks to continue to preserve some of those amazing World Heritage values that we all enjoy and live with on a daily basis. As Kirsty indicated, 81 submissions were received with overwhelming support in terms of 62 support for the recommendation and 19 against. And we also received representation from both AgForce, who do not support the proposal, but also from Weatherby Station, another cattle property owner who does support the proposal. Some of the examples that we can talk to is that, for an example, on a cattle property to the south of our current location, 38 mahogany gliders were removed from the top barbed wire fence of that locality. Similarly, 136 little red flying foxes were removed over a 6-day period from a property between here and up to the tablelands. The Australian Wildlife Hospital talks about 80 species are impacted by the top barbed wire, and of those, they receive an 80% mortality rate. There's a number of national recovery programs in terms of the mahogany glider and the ghost bat, that are species that are both found within our region, where the threatening process located in that national recovery plan is that top barbed wire. And they're responsible for the 85% of those mortality, with the remainder being the second barb. And as previously chatted, HQ Plantations, they have hundreds of kilometres where the lease arrangement that they have in place for their property for cattle owners is to have a top barbed wire, and that's across the Cassowary Coast and also into Hinchinbrook. So the recommendation today seeks to find a balance between the feedback that we receive from the submission, mainly from the cattle industry. And so we've amended the original local law recommendation or change to remove the rural areas out and only include an environmental management and conservation area, consistent that's with the planning scheme. Noting already that the urban areas already has this provision in place, unless it's a 2-metre high security fence. And back over to you, Kirsty.
Thank you, Michael. So the recommendation that we've put to Council is that Council, 1, under its local lawmaking policy number 10727, Part B, Step 7, make the following proposed local law and subordinate local law with amendments. 1, the amendment local law number 3, Community Environment 2025. 2, the amendment subordinate local law number 3, Community Environment 2025. And 2, advise the public of the making of the amendment local law and subordinate local law in accordance with the requirements of section 29B 1 to 4 of the Local Government Act 2009.
Thank you. So I'm going to move another motion. I'm going to move the motion that Council amends the amendment subordinate local law number 3, Community and Environment 2025, to remove the following. Insert in column 2, to add all new barbed wire fences within the environmental management and conservation zone in the planning scheme must include a top strand of wildlife friendly barbless wire, and insert in column 2, to add B, the top strand of any existing barbed wire fence or sections of fence that need to be replaced within the environmental management and conservation zone in the planning scheme must be replaced with life-friendly barbless wire under its local law. Number 2, under its local lawmaking policy 10727 Part B, Step 7, make the following proposed local law, subordinate local law amendments, with including the amendment in point 1. 1, amendment local law number 3, community and environment 2025. 2, amendment subordinate local law number 3, community and environment 2025. Advise the public of the making of the local law and subordinate local law in accordance with requirements of section 29B1 to 4 Local Government Act 2009. So for those of you that don't understand what I'm doing, I'm just going to say that my proposal is that I do not wish to mandate anyone having to use barbless wire, but propose that the decision is left up to the property owner. Basically,
Yeah, I'll second that.
I'm second it. Any comments?
Well, I just think you're losing the value of the 62 submissions that were received that have come in. I mean, in my mind, the amended local laws that were put forward under this are being quite reasonable. We're only talking about the conservation and the high value environmental areas. So we're not pushing into the mainstream. And I mean, when you look at some of the figures about 38, I mean, we've had discussions around, how effective is this or would this law be? There's nothing to stop people doing this voluntarily. And again, I think it's only around those really high profile areas. And we even had that discussion when we were on site with one of the landholders. I think all the councillors were there.
They were.
And we had that discussion with the resident, and he agreed that we've got the mapping for the high value conservation environmental areas, and he agreed that we should be thinking about those sort of ideas. So
He also said on that.
I'm not finished, thank you. I support the amendments as they stand because I think there's value there. There's still a lot of choice. We're not mandating everyone to be in part of this, and I understand that's what upset a few people.
Yeah.
So again, I'm for the recommendation as it stands, and I think because I still think we're being fair and reasonable, and we're coming out with some protections in place for our high value areas.
Councillor McLeod.
Through the chair, I support Councillor Bain's things, but can I just query where it's just in those high conservation areas we are looking at? We're not asking them to rip out their barbed wire now. It's when it's replaced that we're asking them to replace it with barbless wire. So, it's not a huge.
Through the chair, that's correct, councillor. It's not retrospective in any way. It's if they're putting in a new fence.
Yep.
That's consistent with the planning scheme as well. So you get consistency between the local law and planning scheme, or if they're replacing the entirety of the asset.
Yes. Okay.
Call that greater than 50%.
Perfect. And we're just looking at the conservation area where these.
Through the chair,
Animals.
we've removed the rural zone, which is predominantly that cattle industry,
Yep.
which is consistent with the objections to the local law submission.
Thank you so much.
Councillor Jessup.
Who is going to monitor this situation if we make this law? How will you be monitoring whether or not they are using barbless wire or they are using barbed wire?
Through the chair. Question, and I think that's I think it's a proactive measure on the behalf of staff to have to go on and have a look at these areas.
But what I'm saying is by making the law, and unless you're actually following up on that law, what is the point of having that law?
So through the chair, so natural environment staff are all authorised officers in terms of council local law. We're very much aware of where some of the corridor and these impacts are being felt. And then obviously as we're going around, as we see a property owner going through a change of the fence line, then we're obviously going to engage on board and also have the option of providing a barbless wire. So we're going to encourage that changeover to occur, obviously impacting the costs. Similarly, we can have a chat to those, the intent to roll out if the motion is successful, make contact with those providers of fencing contractors within the region and talk to them around these changes so they can highlight it as well. That may be supported with fact sheets depending on where we get to in terms of the process.
So if someone is found not to be doing this, if this law comes through and they have disregard for putting barbless wiring, do they get fined or what is the process here?
Through the chair, yes, they could get fined. Yeah, there's a number of different avenues that we could take in terms of compliance, but we always try to do a soft approach first.
Sorry, just one more thing. With graziers, for insurance purposes or community purposes, keeping their cattle on their property is a major thing. You can't have your cattle roaming on the roads for obvious reasons. So is this now taking away from them the opportunity to keep their cattle fenced by the fact that cattle want the grass on the other side of that fence? They're going to push through it because there's no barbs.
Through the chair, Councillor, the way you described it is they push through the fence rather than go over the fence. So they're pushing through the remaining barbed wire fence to get out. I think the representation from John from Weatherby Station indicated around animal management and handling of the cattle being more of the issue associated with them going through the barbed wire fence rather than the fence per se. And of the stats that we have through our local law process, there's 33 reports of any cattle being out of or gone through a barbed wire fence. And our experience at Nins Creek, where we've put in a barbless top wire, we haven't had any breaches of that fence line in the 8 months that it's been in place. And also our conversations with HQ Plantations, where they describe as hundreds of kilometres across Cassowary and Hinchinbrook where they have the barbless, they have a nominal amount of, as in a small minor amount of cattle escaping. And again, described it as pushing through the fence per se rather than going over the barbless one.
So with all respect, Weatherby Station's area is a lot drier and they don't have the large grasslands that we do here. There's probably not a need for them to want to push through because there's nothing on the other side for them. You know, they're getting fed in their property. Could that be swaying their perception of the barbless wire and they're happy with it?
So through the chair, that's why I'd point you back to the HQ Plantations, where there's 100 kilometres within our region and Hinchinbrook. And so they, like I said, they describe it as a nominal, which is a minor amount of cattle being out.
Okay, I think you've answered most of my questions, but I'm with the mayor on this. I think that we shouldn't be telling the graziers what they have to do.
Landholders, not just
Landholders, not just graziers, anyone that's containing animals, or I don't think it's our position to be telling them what they should be doing. And I think that it should be left up to them to, if they have an area and they're noticing that animals are being, for want of a better word, killed on these top strands, then they can be proactive and take the step themselves to do it. I don't think we need to do that as council.
So again, through the chair, that's why I removed that rural zone out of it and amended the local law so that it is only in that environmental conservation area and not within the rural zone.
How many kilometres would that be?
In fence line or in area?
In fence line.
I'm not aware of the length of fence line within the environmental conservation area.
Councillor Chewy.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, Mr. Anderson, cost of the two fences.
So through the chair, so it's same cost. So barbless wire has been has evolved over time. So the spooling setup in terms of the way that you run out the wire is exactly the same. So you just add that additional top spool, and the price is relative, if not slightly cheaper. But generally, we talk to it as saying it's the same price.
And there, obviously, you talked about the amount of submissions for the proposal. Can you talk to there's a lot, which was great. What was the concept and the conversation around those people that had made those submissions? Because that's a lot of people to comment. So what was the commentary on? Thank you.
So, so 3 comments that I had a look at this morning was, one, that it provides consistency with council's policies that we already have in place, in particular the mahogany glider policy. The second one was that it's a cost-effective way of reducing, because of the 85% of mortality associated with fences happens on that top wire. It's a cost-effective way of undertaking this activity. And the final one came from a number of wildlife carers who have to go through the trauma of removing these animals and then going through a recovery position where they have an 80% mortality rate. So a number of those came through the trauma associated with that type of activity.
Thank you.
Do you have a comment, Councillor Littlemore?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have a couple of concerns. My main concern is around resources to police this. I don't feel that councils should be passing laws that they don't have the resources to police. And I know our local laws officers are stretched. I think if they were asked, they would tell you that they could do with another couple of vehicles and another few staff to police the local laws that we have in force at present. The other comment that I'd like to make, Chair, is that, 2 more comments. Our landowners are always telling us that they are custodians of the environment. And I believe that if that is the case and they are finding that they are getting animals trapped on their fences, that they will be proactive in doing something about it. And we've certainly brought this to their attention through the local proposals. The other comment I have, Chair, is that rather than resourcing more staff and vehicles, that we take a positive carrot approach rather than a stick approach, and that we incentivise landowners who wish to replace their top strand, even if it doesn't necessarily need replacement. And so that would perhaps get a better outcome. These people are no fools. They know that they've got to work their land hard to make a living, because land on the Kasserine Coast is particularly valuable compared to other areas. And so that puts pressure on. They need to manage their grazing so that it's effective, which means that the paddock next door can quite often look more attractive to animals. We already know that some of our landowners are not particularly careful when they maintain their fences. And so the argument about, barbed wire being effective on a slack fence, it doesn't really matter what sort of wire you have. So, Chair, they're the comments I'd like to make. And when we come to the vote, we'll see how we go.
Hands up for Councillor Baines.
Just.
Councillor McLeod.
To the chair. Talking about staff going out, our staff don't go out unless they're realistically called. I think the wildlife carers themselves will be majority of the police in this in these situations. At some point we do have to start protecting the species that we have, our mahogany gliders. They don't they don't reside in many places in our world, and we're not people who have put in these submissions, their concern is, and we're not asking for every person who's got a barbed wire fence to replace the top wire when it becomes, needing time to replace. We're only doing that conservation areas. So I think the impost on staff, I think you can realistically wipe that away, because, in any of our things, the public will tell us if somebody is not doing the right thing, and then we follow up on that. So that's it.
Councillor Purvin.
Sorry, can I just reiterate there? So why are we making a law? Why are we making it law? These people are doing the right thing or not.
What do you mean?
I don't understand why council has to be the one to do that when you've got conservation, wildlife people that can do the same thing.
In what respect are you talking?
In respect to the animals, if they're getting caught on fences and
We go back to the,
Through the chair, I mean, maybe for clarity, the local law provides a head of power to officers to action that. So if there was a specific section of fence where there was a significant number of animals getting caught on that, and that farmer, that grazier, that landowner was to replace that section of fence, then it would give the head of power for council to say, we'll do that through barbless top strand. I think as the current motion stands, it's saying, look, these people are custodians of their own land, that, you know, it would be through their own decision rather than, and council would not have that same ability and head of power to actually enforce that. So the law would give council the ability to enforce that. Without the law, again, it would be on the landowner's decision whether they were to be incentivised or, you know, to change that top strand.
so in saying that, further to that, our officers did say that they wouldn't be going out there with the stick if there was an issue on a particular fence line. Would you not just go out and have a conversation with that person anyway? And most people are pretty reasonable in the fact that if you brought it to their attention, that they would probably willingly go and do something about it anyway.
Through the chair, absolutely. And look, to the point, there's people parking across our region probably at the moment that doesn't align with some of our local laws around parking. We're not everywhere. We can't be everywhere. And I think we know a few planners in the back of the room. Good neighbours are a good thing to have. And typically it's when there is a conflict or an issue raised with council that we have a responsibility to investigate, and we would investigate that and ensure that that complaint is considered as far as compliance with both local laws and legislation. So yeah, we absolutely do not have the resources to be proactively in every location, enforcing every local law at every time. There would be a dozen people with dogs off leash on beaches at the moment, no doubt, enjoying the sunshine today. Our local laws are not on every beach at all times to police that. But yeah, without the head of power, you can't do that.
Right.
I'm sure if this motion gets up today, officers would be taking the comment and putting something for budget consideration to help incentivise those landowners that are looking to transition to do that.
Councillor Purvis.
And thanks, Chair. And that's exactly what you just said, Mr. CEO. It's correct. If we've got a budget deliberation coming up soon. If we have some incentive there for those that do want to do this, I'm more than happy to support that. But I just think, even looking at the mapping of some of these areas, some properties are under conservation areas, some aren't. So you're taking that right away from people that actually own that land, what they want to do with their land. You know, if there's nothing to stop them from going and readjusting a fence line, but council's got the impost there that you can't put a fence there, but they've got permission from other areas, they can do something. We are the ones that are holding the stick over them. I'm in favour of the mayor's amendment, and I'll stick to it.
Councillor Baines.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of points there, and I'll go back to what Mr. Graffin had said. And we have this discussion every time we speak about local laws. We don't write the local laws for the reasonable people. Write the local laws for the people who really try very, very hard to just not do anything at all. The amendments that have come today to the previous local laws we spoke about have included the exclusion of the rural areas. We're only going to those high profiles. So I think we've addressed a lot of the issues that the graziers have come and spoken to us about. In a sense, putting a local law like this in place is really an incentive, Councillor Littlemore, or an incentive in the sense of being a disincentive. I mean, we've got to be cautious about how we spend ratepayers' money as well, you know. So, I mean, having the ability and the power to enact this local law is part of the incentive with people who are putting replacements in or building a brand new fence only in these specific areas. There's nothing to stop anyone else being part of this. And there have been, I mean, look, if we have the money in the budget, I'd love to see us try and incentivise this stuff. But, you know, we're playing with ratepayers' money in the same space. There's other money in the areas where that can be brought from. So again, I believe compared to the first time this hit our table, I think we've addressed the issues, we've restricted it down to particular areas. It's not about the resourcing of staff. We're not going to get Black Hawk helicopters and have our local laws officers abseiling into properties. I mean, these sort of communications will come forward, not yet, will come forward later on. So again, I still support the recommendations.
Thanks. So the recommendation on the table is mine at the moment.
So I'm not supporting.
Okay, thank you.
Just so to finish that, because we would not have the head of power to be able to police the people who really aren't doing the right thing. That's the bit that concerns me.
Thank you,
Add a
Chair.
little more.
Chair, this is in the public domain. All the graziers, all the landholders that have barbed wire fences, I would say 99% of them have become aware of what's happening. I fully support incentivising, and I think that rather than put a blanket law on where we could discuss incentive all we like, but that's not on the table today. I think we should proceed with what you've moved as a resolution, and that we should be considering in the budget a decent incentive for people to take up this barbless fencing. And what we can also do then, these laws are not set in concrete. If we find that nobody's taken up the incentive and that our wildlife carers are still finding the same problems, then we'll know that the carrot hasn't worked. But to go in with a stick, I think, is a big mistake. And so I'd like to leave my comments just there. I think we have the opportunity to maintain these things under review, and we certainly have the opportunity for those that, if we put a decent incentive in place, provide the wire, whatever it takes, people really are committed to this, and those that understand that it works, want to do it, we'll certainly have a different situation to look at in a reasonable time. Give it a year or two to see whether people take it up. I mean, we're not talking about landholders wanting to replace all their fences tomorrow.
Yep.
So thank you, Chair.
So yeah, the incentive thing will come at a different time, but at the same breadth. Beg your pardon?
So that we're not talking about incentives at all.
No, we're not.
At this stage. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So we keep talking about reduction of red tape. So again, I bring my motion is the one at the table. Sorry, you got more comments?
Yeah, just on that, Mr. CEO, you might be able to answer this. So the planning scheme actually overrides everything anyway. So if somebody put an application for a rural area, say, I don't want to use specifics, but in somewhere that was affected by the mahogany blight or something like that, they wanted to get out of the rural industry and into like a caravan park. Am I right in saying that the planning scheme would actually put a condition there if you wanted to fence that area off? It may be a colour bond fence, it could be something completely different. Those rules would actually override these local laws. Is that correct?
Through the chair, there's a mahogany cider conservation policy that's been adopted by council. There's a cassery conservation policy that's been adopted by council. The direction provided by those policies means that our planners, where there is an MCU in place, would put conditions that would support those policies. So we've seen that down in Mission Beach, where there's been an MCU for a tourist park or the like, or even where we have seen that, implemented, those conditions can absolutely be put on the applicant. That's not to say if you were in the rural area and you changed from being a horticulturalist to a grazier, that no conditions, you wouldn't have a change of use there.
No. Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? At the present time, it's the motion on the table is the motion that I've put forward. So I've got a mover and a seconder. So those in favour of recommendation that I put forward. Councillor Pervin, Councillor Jessup, and Councillor Littlemore. Against? Councillor Chewy, Councillor Baines, and Councillor McLeod. So that's carried. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. We move on to 6.1 and Mr. Horton will present. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Mayor. Good morning, Council.
Mr. Horn.
Council 6.1, we have an application for reduction in infrastructure charges relating to RAL 2531, which was a reconfiguration of a lot, one lot into two lots at 80 Con Street, Mission Beach. The application was decided on the 2nd of December 2025. With that application, infrastructure charges notice was issued to the amount of $29,339.55. The request has come in for 100% reduction in infrastructure charges. It's eligible under the criteria to be assessed. It has been assessed. It meets that assessment criteria. Therefore, the recommendation, Council, is that Council approve potential 100% reduction in infrastructure charges relating to that development application at 80 Conch Street on the condition that all works with the reconfig, which is the lodgement of the planner survey and sign off by Council, needs to be completed by the 2nd of December 2028. Council. Happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Chewy.
Sorry, through the chair, there's a lot of building work happening and everybody I know that's building is being delayed for various reasons. I mean, does that take into consideration that the dates can be extended potentially if there is, people can show evidence of why the work has been delayed? Not that they've just not done anything about it, but things just haven't been able to move forward with construction and things like that.
Through the chair, the policy doesn't really provide for extensions of the 3 years. 3 years is a considerable amount of time for something like this. It's only one lot into two lots, which is minor. The original dwelling, house, there's some structured car park, swimming pool will be on the first block at the front. The rear block has a shed there, but it's still 887. There's some minor works there with electricity. Just looking at probably a new jump up and internal drainage, and then the building work will come after that. But we're really only talking about the subdivision component at the moment.
My confusion.
So with this type of development, it's pretty minor
Yeah.
in the works that are required. So it's still got a major frontage to the street of 5 metres. So down that frontage will come the conduit and your electrical component down that area. The water will come down that access handle as well, and the sewer jump up will be just duplicated through there. And I'm pretty sure at Con Street the jump ups run along the front of the street, and we put that in 2006. Council.
Thank you. Sorry for the
No,
Councillor
no
Littlemore.
problems.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I note that the application complies with the eligibility and assessment criteria. So my comment, Chair, is it about time Council reviewed that policy? Is that something that could be brought to the table in the not too distant future? And then we put developers on notice that the window may well be closing?
Through the chair, definitely. Council will be booking workshop in March to discuss it because this policy is out of play at the end of June 30th.
Okay.
So it'll be coming to council to discuss on whether it's extended or not. That'll be a discussion for yourselves on where we go with that. It's been in place since 2015, I'm pretty sure. So it's over 10 years old. We started with 50% and then we went to 100%. So maybe it's council's looking at that. There's a number of factors too. We need to look at our LGIP and the planning scheme and those types of things. What trunk mains need to be upgraded? Is there further reservoirs of water? Those types of things in different areas. Replacement of old mains and so forth. So we need a good understanding of that as well, council, because in some areas, if we still keep this policy, we might have to, outline that because the water upgrade needed in that area, that part of the contribution infrastructure charges not waived, so might adjust in that period. So, but good discussion to have, and we'll have that. And as you've noticed, 30th of June at the moment. So if people are out there wanting to develop or, come under the current policy, they should lodge their application now and get it sorted with council.
Because there's a lot of things that have changed since then, isn't there? Sorry, have you got something further?
No, I'm happy for you to finish your comment, Chair, if you had one.
No, that's all.
Just add to that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Chair. I guess the next two items are a great example of what you're raising. They're located in a development area that council has secured funding from the housing support program through the federal government and the residential activation fund. So without that $16 million worth of funding to upgrade infrastructure in that area, there is absolutely a need for these infrastructure charges to be contributing to.
Yeah.
We are lucky that council's been successful with that funding, that has offset at this time.
Chair, on the basis that it does comply, I'll move the motion.
Sure, thank you. Councillor Baines?
I think it's a very important point, and Mr. Horton just brought it up, that we're in the middle of the planning scheme amendments where I think the state one's nearly ready to hit the table. Mr. Horton, is that right?
Through the chair, we responded to the final Queensland Regional Plan draft.
In another draft around?
Yeah, so the draft got done. We put in a submission as part of council on different properties within the region, especially around zoning and rezoning. So hopefully that's being considered at the current time. We hope to get an update very shortly that, hopefully that'll go to final.
Don't lost, Brett.
So, definitely not. But we can do these workshops and discuss these policies in conjunction with where we're going and where the position is, because growth seems to be coming and it is coming on.
No.
We don't want to step on that as well at the same time.
So, Councillor Chewy?
No, I'm all good.
You're all good?
Thank you.
Through the chair, with the regional plan, because it is in draft, it still gives us power when we deal with development assessment. So it still gives us the criteria, Cody principle type component that you can still put weight to the draft regional plan. So we have been doing that on numerous applications where we've had a look at that inconsistency, because as we know, council, when we're assessing something, if the planning scheme's inconsistent with those higher order documents, which is your state planning policies and the regional plan, they override the scheme. So you've got to look at those types of components. The draft is new. It's a lot broader, which we have been using that as development assessment criteria in our assessment processes at the moment.
Which is great. And thank you, Mr. Horton. I do agree that it's a process. We've got to keep working through it. I agree with council a little more. Time to have a look at these policies. So I'm happy to second.
Councillor Jessup?
Yes, through the chair. I think this was originally an incentive for people to invest in our area. It just shows how sometimes incentivizing people can actually work, given our previous conversations. So yeah, it's the carrot that we dangled, wasn't it?
Yes, of course. Okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder. Take it to the vote. All in favour, thank you. Harry. Okay.
Chair, I'll be leaving.
Sorry?
I'll be leaving for these next two items.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Next two items are pretty much the same, council, but I'll start with 6.2. As we're fully aware with these two applications, they're in the latest 13 lots that we've just done on Elliott Road, which have been signed off. You actually won't see them in our mapping because it's just being updated at the moment. The state's a little bit behind in its survey plan sign-off. I think there must be a little bit going on through the state. So, so that's coming through at the moment. These applications, so the first one, 6.2, it was a material change of use, dual occupancy on lot 616. SB 359073 is situated Elliott Road in Innisfail Estate. The application for this request for 100% was lodged by Urban Sync on behalf of Five Rivers. The application was approved subject to conditions on the 9th of December 2025 for that dual locks. And as I said previously, an infrastructure charges notice was issued on that for $29,339.55. So that charge comes from 3-bedroom home. So 3-bedroom or more dwelling, that's where that charge comes from in our current infrastructure charges policy. Council, we've addressed it, we've assessed it against the eligibility. It's in the appropriate zoning because, and it's a bit, I'll explain it. It's shown in the rural zone in the planning scheme. However, the development for these dwelling houses was done under the superseded planning scheme, which was the original planning scheme before 2015, which showed this area in residential. So we assessed the original subdivision under that criteria, which then allowed this to proceed in the residential zone. Therefore, the assessment of this dual lock was code. Therefore, the infrastructure charges notice was issued. On that, the eligibility come in there, meets the criteria. Development comprises of 2 units, each comprising of 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. So, yeah. So this one, council recommendation is there to prove potential 100% on MCU 2549 for an MCU for dual lock as of lot 616 on SP 359073 and situated Elliott Road, Innisfail Estate, if all the works are done by the 9th of December 2028.
And
Happy
given
to
that
answer
we
any
got that
questions.
infrastructure funding and all of the works have been done over there and upgraded, that this further alerts to the fact that the requirement to upgrade anything is already there.
Through the chair, yeah, definitely. We're working through that at the moment.
Happy to move that, Chair.
Gonna move? Thank you.
In a second.
Thank you. Any further comments? No? Take it to the vote. But thank you. Move on to your next item.
6.3 is 2 lots up. It's on lot 614 in the same street, Elliott Road. The application is by Urban Sync for 5 Rivers for a dual lock. This approval was approved on 11th of December 2025, so end of last year under delegated authority. Infrastructure charges notice issued for $29,339.55. The request is for 100% reduction, assessed against the eligibility assessment criteria. It's therefore recommended council, like the last one, for that potential 100% reduction to this application. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Chewy.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I've just, but both of these, this one and the previous one for dual occupancy. So we're talking a lot of flats we used to call them back in the day. So does that, I know we have a housing crisis and I acknowledge that, but what is the proposed for this estate? Is it going to be houses? Is it going to be flats? I mean, we don't know. Are there some sort of guidelines around what can be included in this estate? Because if we have a lot of people in a small space, potentially that can not be.
Sorry, could we put that into general business?
I beg your pardon. Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, you could ask that.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. If that's okay, I will
Yeah.
carry it forward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, we're just looking at the
Manager can
charges.
come back. The approval's already in place.
Okay, I beg your
We're
pardon.
Considering at the moment infrastructure charges, but it's a great question.
Yeah,
And I'm sure
Thank you.
you'd be happy to stay for the
Happy to move.
Thank you, councillor
Good
Button.
second, Chair.
Seconded. Are we in favour? Carried, thank you.
Thanks,
Just
council.
going to go to a 5-minute
Horton.
break before we go into general business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move into general business. Is there any general business? Councillor Chewy.
Sorry, I beg your pardon, Councillor. If I could invite Horton back up and I'll continue on with the question that I had earlier. Thank you. Nobody knows who anybody is today.
Be that pain or something.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Horton. Just following on from my previous conversation about the proposed vision for this estate, because we know, and as I acknowledged, there is a housing crisis, but sometimes when you have a lot of people in a confined space, so to speak, car parking becomes an issue, all that sort of stuff. So I just, can you elaborate further on the proposal?
Through the chair, through these 2 developments, there is a fair few dwellings being improved in there as well. There's no criteria, and we haven't got anything in place where the scheme talks about a percentage. You know, years ago, we put in our TLPI in Mission Beach because we were concerned in 06.
Sorry, what's a TLPI?
Temporary local planning instrument to sort of amend the scheme in a way that controls development. And we did that at Mission Beach with concerns of what you just raised, councillor. So we did a number of approvals back in the day for duplexes and multiple dwellings. It was getting out of control, but we put that in and we sort of got to the point where we were having 2.5% of multiple dwellings and 5% of duplexes in these areas. But what turned out was we did the approvals, but no one built them.
Oh, okay.
So it fell away and we ended up worse off than we did because in that situation, that's why we never gone down that road again.
Yeah.
So the way the state is at the moment with what they're pushing around housing, and everything is about housing, doesn't matter what you go to, it's all about housing and getting houses on the ground. So for us, getting more infrastructure on our asset, which means more rates, which means more people within the area, I suppose with 2 units, a duplex is not really overdevelopment on a normal 800 square metre block or close to 800 squares. It is really good use of land. The state issue targets that we should be meeting, you know, and as I've spoken to council previously, some of the developments down south are down to 310 squares.
Yeah.
So 310, square metres for a house. I think one was bought in Brisbane the other day for 1.something million. It was on the news. It was tiny. Look, our developments, our blocks are still large. You know, our lots aren't 450 squares. Ours are 700 and something in this development, which is considerable size and good size for a duplex dwelling house, probably 3 units, 4 units. So
Okay.
within walking distance to the school, within walking distance of our networks to town, we've got a lot of footpaths with the new 48 lots that we're going to deal with shortly. On next to the north of the Innisfail State College, there's a new footpath going in there through the gardens and out up onto, the hospital bridge and over into town, which we want. We want people coming into that activation. We've got the Innisfail Master Plan. We've got that to be rolled out. We want people using our footpaths. We want people going into town. We want people walking into shops. We want that development. So this development of, overall 500 and so lots, it's really needed for Innisfail and to grow our economy in that area. So the planning scheme at the moment is helping. The incentives are helping that be produced, and further on we can have a further discussion. But the way the state, they want us to really reduce our levels of assessment, try and get more stuff straight into building. So we need to look at that in our new planning scheme.
Okay, thank you. Just got to.
Sorry, councillor Jessup, sorry. Just further to your comments there, while we've got Mr. Horton here, I just want to mention the state housing and how that doesn't come under our planning laws, or they just can do whatever the state wants to do. Is that correct?
Through the chair, Public Works, done through the Department of Housing. They provide the concepts to council. That we review. We provide advice back to the state on various things that we got in the planning scheme, like parking, layouts, infrastructure, what's there, what needs to be there, what needs to be designed. We provide all that back. However, the state has the power to roll that infrastructure out. They take on concerns, but they don't have to take everything on. Like, we can say that you should have 6 car parks. If they design 4 and they're happy with that, well, that's how it proceeds. We try our best to get what we do, especially around drainage. We understand it gets hooked into our sewer, our water. And we have further discussions about locations and better locations to put some of the housing. Look, as a council officer, we try our best. However, state's got certain land and they want to roll it out. And as we know, you can see them clearly at 3 to 5 Black Street. You can see the double story 6 units going up there. We got duplex out at Theodore Street, so next to where our units are out there as well. And you'll see it up at the Innisfail Golf Course as well, across the road, Mahogany Street there. So
Yeah, I've had several questions about it and why is council allowing it in these locations? And I've tried to say, look, we advise the state of what our recommendations are, but you know, it's up to ultimately the state will do what the state wants to do. So anyway, thank you for that.
through the chair, ours are minimal. Ours are not large development. You know, if you want to have a look at a large one that'll probably roll out with government housing, is have a look at the one they released for Banyo in Brisbane, which is a government parcel of land that's been sitting in the middle of Banyo. And Banyo is not that far from the city, and with great train network and those types of things. But yeah, there'll be considerable units built in there. And the other one is I suppose the old drive-in up in Cairns at Warree, which they've been dealing with there, which, you know, has been a very, you know, they didn't have air cons. So there's a number of things there that they discuss around that, but ours are not large scale.
They're not large scale, and however, we will continue to work with the state to make sure that we can meet the expectations of the community as well. So, but anyway, that's another story. Councillor.
I do have just a couple more items, if I may. I should have done this last month, but I got caught up with weather events. Just want to acknowledge the School Savvy team and the work that they did for our community.
Right.
Innisfail event was great. First time in Tully. And the queue was down the bottom of the street. So well done to everybody. Particularly, I would like to thank our Innisfail, Tully and Mission Beach service clubs who generously donated money to purchase items, and other people and groups did as well. They are the ones that I were involved with. So thank you to the team that were responsible for that. I've had several conversations about the customer service at our library, and I'd just like to remind people there is a survey form on the counter. So whatever your feelings are about the current situation at Tully, please fill out the form and hand it into the staff there, because if we don't know what you're thinking or how you're feeling, we can't, you know, have a discussion about moving forward on that. So they're on the counter. There's one about the library service, but there is one there particularly about the new customer service desk at the library. So just remind people about that. And Mr. CEO, if I may ask you a question, I've had several people reach out to me because their bins were not collected, and they've been the residents have had photos because they've done the wrong thing. Ultimately, we know that. But
right.
Is it a new thing? I mean, how do we, I know why, but if you could just elaborate on what the process was. A lot of the ladies blame their husbands, sorry, gentlemen, for putting the wrong plastic bag item in their recyclable bin, which is therefore not eligible for collection. Bin liners, potentially, Councillor McLeod, are also providing a challenge. So I'll leave it to you.
Thanks for the question. Through you, Chair. I think it's been more of a challenge for our community going from a dry waste bin to a commingled recycling bin than it would have been if you had have gone from just a single general waste bin and added commingled recycling, because your focus would then be on what do I put in there that I'm normally putting my general waste, where our community are used to dry waste. So with a dry waste, our waste was historically going to the Stodders and Tully open landfills, and it didn't matter if it was bagged up or there was contaminants, as long as it wasn't putrescible, it could be taken there. Now our biggest source of contamination is bagged waste. So it's unclear what's in there, and the risk is if we take loads of contaminated waste and mix them in with the good work of those that are making sure that they're commingled, isn't contaminated, that whole contaminated load is then taken to landfill at additional cost. So the drivers for our contractors have got a system called JTrack. They've got cameras, so they will drive past, and I've seen everything from, you know, TVs to, you know, brooms sticking out of the recycling bins. If it's clear there's contamination and there's a bag, they'll take a photo. They won't take that bin, and a letter will be issued to that property owner. Now, that doesn't mean you can hide your bags at the bottom of your recycled bin. As they lift that hopper and put the bin into the hopper, they also have a camera in the hopper. So there was some fairly confronting footage up in Cairns recently where the hopper image caught a Weber Q and its gas bottle going into the hopper, which then caught on fire. So the hopper image can also be used then retrospectively to identify those properties. Council, during our budget review, reallocated some funding that we had initially allocated for consultants into our salary and wages, and the team have progressed with a recruitment process for an education officer. So with the data that we've got through JTrack, the intent is we will focus more on targeted education. So we're not coming in with a big stick. We'll be coming in with an education officer to provide some of the education to both husbands and wives, children, about what does go into those recycled bins. I have to say the portfolio holder, the mayor, and staff were out at Stodders the other day, and we watched a load come in. And we poured the load out to have a look at contamination. It was really actually quite encouraging to see that our contamination rates at the start were sitting around that 40-50%. There was over 150 bins collected in that one collection round, and the driver informed us that there were 12 bins that he would have left typically and taken the photo. He grabbed everything so we could get a clear picture of contamination. But if you had have taken those 12 bins out, it would have been great. We were pretty close to the level we need. So it's great work happening. We want to continue to provide supportive education because we know that most of our residents want to do the right thing. We did see things like barbed wire in that load. Obviously, barbed wire going into a material recycling facility with lots of moving parts is negative. Hoses are another item that's going in there. They're ideally not
Clothes
put in.
baskets. Oh, we got
Clothes
a big
baskets.
list. Yeah, it's quite interesting.
So look, the community are doing a great job. They're learning. We'll do that targeted education over the next 12 months. There might be stickers. You might find a sticker on your bin if we're seeing that contamination, and continue to work from there. But yeah, if your bin hasn't been picked up, you should be notified why, and it is because there's contamination in that commingled bin.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Jess.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Trudy, you stole my library one, but
Sorry.
that's okay.
Your pardon.
Most of the people in Tully now have seen the new stoppers have been replaced in the reverse parking angle parks. So hopefully we won't get any gutter runs or bins knocked over, and these people can rest easy. So that's a good thing, and they look wonderful too, by the way. The street looks great with new tarmac down, and just a couple of things coming up. Tigers jersey launch is on Saturday here in Tully. So anyone that wants to support our local footy people, go ahead and turn up to that. And Clean Up Australia Day, this is on the 1st of March. So you don't have to go too far to clean up Australia. Even if you do your area, well, that's your bit done. And get your kids involved. Have a great time. Thank you.
So what do people do, or where do they go to get their bags and stuff if they want to support Clean Up Australia Day?
I'm pretty sure it's happening here at the council, isn't it?
Yes, one at Mission Beach on Sunday afternoon where the toilets are near the Clump Point facility. There, it's being organised, so there'll be a sign-in form, bags, gloves.
They'll be all on site.
On site, you have to physically register. There's another gentleman doing one. He's doing plastics along the beaches, and you can register with that one as well. So, and basically, I agree with Councillor Jessup. You know, if you walking your dog and you take a bag with you, and if you can pick stuff up, because the South Mission Beach Road, people are obviously, I don't know, throwing cans out the window, left, right, and centre. So yeah, there's always something you can pick up.
Cents each time.
Exactly.
Someone will get them.
Is there any further comments? Councillor Perk?
No, not comments. I just got a question.
Yeah.
Finished.
Yes.
Mr. Horton, seeing as though you're in the room now,
You're in the hot
it
seat.
was a question I
Usually don't.
asked earlier this meeting in relation to the shipping containers from the previous council meeting in January. Do you have an update on that at all?
I do have an update through the chair, councillor. Yes, I've been working with the owners of that property. I've got all the contractors' details of that are doing the works to remove them. I've been talking with the owner of the land where the shipping containers are going, which they're preparing the land for them to be moved there. So, and so there's a project officer involved as well, looking after on behalf of the owner. So yeah, I'm looking hopefully to get that removed in the next week or so, mate. Thank you, Chair. The other thing is one of the customers in that area thanked me on Saturday at the footy for getting the awning fixed on the shop. So the awning's been fixed there and rectified. So he was very pleased with that. So that was one positive. The other one is when those shipping containers will go. Yeah, that'll be that. So
Thank you.
Any further general business?
You, Chair, just to add to Councillor Jessup, if community groups are registering their clean-up events, then council will be accepting that waste collected free of charge at our transfer station. So just make sure if you are organising one of those events, register, and that waste disposal is obviously free of charge.
So does that include if you want to do it yourself and you don't want to be a part of a group and you register yourself, does that also give you free dumping eligibility?
Registered groups can, but if you were to join one of the organised cleanups and dispose of your waste as part of that organised cleanup, even if you were doing it in a different area, that registered group can still dispose of that free of charge. So there's a school cleanup day tomorrow. We've had the business cleanup days and council's been participating in that internally. But if you can either coordinate your cleanup with a registered cleanup and provide that waste there, then the waste is all accepted free of charge.
Councillor Baines.
Well, and while we're on the same subject, I mean, there are a couple of cleanups that council are doing themselves on Monday,
Yes,
10 a.m.
no.
Meet here in Tully or meet in Innisfail Shire Hall. Again, bring a hat, bring some water, your sunscreen, cover up the bags and gloves, and pickups will be available. And then we're looking at the CBD areas. So I know it's probably more specifically around council or council team and council staff, but I'm not sure if residents can come. Maybe they can. I'm pretty sure they could.
If they can't do it on the Sunday and they want to join in on the Monday, I'm pretty sure they'll be welcome.
Thanks.
Many hands make light work.
Yes, it does.
Very quickly, I don't know if councillor Pervin wants to talk, but the congratulations to the football.
Oh, it's just you just took the.
Sorry, and I couldn't attend, but just looking at the Facebook photos, it looked amazing. So I'll leave it to anybody else, but it looked like a wonderful event.
So yes, I was just about to make a huge thank you to Innisfail Junior League and
Radiant Life.
Radiant Life College for all of their efforts in bringing the Legends of League to Innisfail. I believe it was a massive event. There was very little disruption because I spoke to the police yesterday. They said it went across very well. Was a massive effort, and just for those that out there that don't think the council participated, I'd just like to say that we actually did participate because we made sure that the grounds and the gurneying and the painting was all done before the event took place. But yes, I would like to definitely thank Radiant Life College and Innisfail Junior League for their efforts. It was well done.
Yeah, very well done.
Has anybody else got any further comments? Any more general business? No. Okay, well, we'll just now move into our closed session, guys. So the local government to consider the following confidential reports: item 8.1, DRFA project management services, and item 8.2, contract CCW 0000352 Grace Street and Ernest Street pathway renewal and raised priority crossing. Move in a second.
Before you do that,
Sorry.
halfway through this, because we'll all be in closed session, I'll be leaving the room.
After,
First
the
item.
8.2, yeah, okay, thank you.
Happy to move to close.
Happy to second, Chair.
Through the chair, just you've got a prescribed conflict.
Prescribed conflict of interest in item 8.2. So after item 8.1, I'll remove myself from this room.
Thank you. So I've got a mover and a seconder. All in favour, thank you very much. Close the meeting. That brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you, Mr. Goodman, for your
Thank you.
help in that situation, and hope you all have a good weekend. Thanks.